Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aisyah Syahreza and I'm here to explain about poverty. Poverty is about not having enough money to meet basic needs including food, shelter, and clothing. However, poverty is much more than just not having enough money. Quoted by the World Bank Organization, poverty is hunger, poverty is lack of shelter, poverty is being sick and not being able to see a doctor. Poverty is not having access to school and not how to read. Poverty is not having a job, is fear for the future, living one day at a time. Poverty in Angola. Angola official poverty rate is 36.6% with 18.7% for urban and 50.3% for rural areas. It's all from existing aggregate information indicate that despite its oil wealth and high GDP per capita, Angola is ranked number 150 out of 188 countries in the most recent Human Development Index. Despite the high GDP per capita, implying exceptionally poor score education and health indicator. In terms of gender, Angola ranks 150 out of 188 countries in UNDP's Gender Development Index assessing income, longevity, and educational attainment, and the country ranks 126 out of 145 countries in the World Economic Forum's Gender Gap Index measuring economic participant, educational attainment, health, and political empowerment. Angola has a very high rate of urbanization compared to other countries in sub-Saharan Africa at 63% and of the total population of 25.8 million, as many as 6.9 million or 27% live in the capital, Luanda alone. This has also affected relation between urban and rural areas. Since independence from the Portuguese in 1975, Angola's political economic has been dominated by two factors: a devastating war lasting until 2002 and large income from oil and gas that have made Angola's middle income country in GDP per capita terms, albeit with vast level of inequality. Angola is highly dependent on oil, which has represented an average of more than 95% of export incomes the past 10 years. Despite huge economic potential in the form of hydropower, fertile land, and other resource, economic diversification has remained very limited. Since the collapse of the oil price in 2011, Angola has experienced severe problems in its economy. National as well as foreign investment have been reduced, and there have been increasing hardship for its population. The delivery of social service in health and education, which in the outset has been weak, has further deteriorated. Corruption is widespread at all levels, from the political, economic elites and down to social service in village and barriers. Angola has extremely centralized political economy, and few, if any, other countries in Africa have such a concentration of political and economic power in its capital city. At the same time, no cities in Africa, with the possible exception of Kinshasa and Lagos, have such a fertile and poor population as does Luanda. Luanda was established by the Portuguese in 1576. Since then, the city has gone through three major transformative periods. See also Raposo et al. 2012. At independence in 1975, the population of Luanda stood at approximately. Since then, following decades of war and the rural exodus, the population has increased from an estimated 1 million in 1980 to an estimated 4 million in 200. Luanda, the capital of Angola, has regained top spot as the world's most expensive city for expat, pushing Hong Kong back into second place. In financial terms, to rent a two-bedroom apartment in Luanda, you will pay on average an astonishing $6,800 per month. The FT reported. How is that possible? Angola's GDP per head is just $7,000 per $100,000 per year. In other words, the average Angola will be able to rent a two-bedroom apartment for 1 month of the years. Surely the math doesn't add up. Indeed, it doesn't, but that doesn't mean the numbers are wrong. It merely means we're comparing apples and oranges. The position of Luanda, which has topped this ranking frequently in the past few years, is influenced by the cost of service, accommodation for expat staff as well as for everyday goods. Angola, a country rich in natural resources, was until a decade ago affected by a bloody civil war spanning almost 3 decades. Over the course of the civil war, an estimated 500,000 civilians lost their life, and much of the country's poor infrastructure was destroyed. So when, in 2002, Angola could turn at last to rebuilding its economy and society, its initial supply of high-quality housing was most likely limited at best. Thanks to its oil reserve, Angola grew at breakneck speed after the Civil War, with annual GDP growth peaking at mind-boggling 23% in 2008 and exceeding 10% per annum 5 out of 6 years between 2003 and 2008. But while economic growth might recover extremely fast, construction tend to be more of longer than evolution. In other words, the cost of housing might to go down over time as the supply of quality housing increases. In other words, Luanda may not be the most expensive city in the world for the local population, but thanks to a booming oil economy, a limited supply of luxurious housing, and a high demand for its among expats, the cost of living there is higher than any city in the world. That's all for the course. Thank you for watching.